we can talk about like aptitude and football IQ and all that good stuff, which obviously you possess. But let's talk about team culture. You know, what are those types of things when you go back down to the foundation of what you're instilling in these young men? What does that look like when you address them for the first time and kind of lay your plan out?
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time we met. It was, I guess it was that Wednesday in the weight room. And I just started out with love. I'm a firm believer that love conquers all. And I say that because they've got to understand how much we are invested in them, right, as a coaching staff.
Right.
So that they can, do the best that they can on a Friday night, and they're willing to play hard for us, right, and play hard for this community. And it all goes back to, too, like we have a saying, forget about me, I love you, right? So, like, when we go out and play 48 minutes on a Friday night, you got to care so much about the guy next to you that you don't want to let him down. Not that you don't want to let yourself down, but it's the guy next to you. So, to me, that's where I've seen it go both ways throughout my course as a coach. I think I've been a part of teams and places where really talented, but we didn't have the connection, right? So I think the connection and loving each other, right, is kind of the biggest thing that we talked about from the beginning. And then understanding each and every day, we've got to find one thing to get better at as a staff, as a program, as a player. So like we use correction cards every day after practice, and our coaches write correction cards, and the next day kids come in and they watch film, and when they go out to practice, they got to fix that one thing.
That's right.
So if we can fix that one thing and keep stacking days and just keep stacking, then eventually, right, we'll get it to where we need it to be.
I love that.
Welcome back to Brew Talks. I'm Steve Stroud, President and CEO of Roswell, Inc. We're the economic development organization in the city of Roswell. I'm
Andy Williams, President and CEO of Visit Roswell, the official destination marketing organization for the city charged with promotion of tourism throughout the community. And really cool guests we got on today. I don't want to say this is like an introduction to the community, but it kind of can be for a lot of them. A lot of viewers watching
countdown.
this. Yeah,
that's right. It's coming
good
up.
Stuff. Good
you
stuff.
Got two crazy football guys right here. Now he's a baseball guy. He plays a little
Still
baseball.
Still love football though.
We love us some football.
That's right.
That's it.
So we have Coach Jonathan Thompson, and he is the new head football coach for the Roswell High School Hornets. Previously with Lee County High School, was the offensive coordinator. And so we're going to jump into a bunch of really fun, cool stuff because we all know that Roswell's got a very successful football program, great kids, great system. I mean, it's just good stuff, and looking forward to seeing what Coach Thompson brings to the table. So welcome. Glad to have you aboard.
Thank y'all for having me.
You got it. And we're gonna walk it back. So we want to get to know you. We want the community to get to know you. Give us that rundown of really kind of your intro into football, into coaching, how you've worked your way up, and really kind of how you went from South Georgia. We know some good football is played down to South Georgia, but now here in the metro Atlanta area where we also got some good football being played. So walk us through it.
Yeah, so originally from Middle Georgia, Harris County High School, which is halfway in between Columbus and LaGrange, up 185 corridor right there.
Yep.
Played for a guy named Tommy Parks, who was a longtime legend in Middle Georgia. And when I was in college at LaGrange College, he asked me to be a community coach. So I did at Harris, where I played at. And then he got the head job at Upson Lee, which is about 30 minutes south of Griffin. And I went over there for 3 years, and I was a running back coach, became the offensive coordinator in year 3. He had a massive heart attack, and when he did, I stayed on for one more year, and I decided, me and my wife did as a family, my wife, Shalia Thompson, said, you know what, we want to be at the highest level of football. We want to be, in big-time ball. And so that's when I took the receiver job at Lee County High School in 2019, and it was game 3 of that year that Coach Fabrizio, the head coach there at Lee County High School, got rid of the offensive coordinator and named me that in game 3. So it was one of those moments where, and I say fortunately, we have a 4-year-old little girl now, but at the time I didn't have a little girl, so it was just me and my wife, and those were some sleepless nights, and I can't imagine doing that if we would have had a daughter at the time. Like it was hard, but you know what? I think it's prepared me for today. It's moments like that. After that, I spent my last 6 years at Lee County, was offense coordinator there, had a lot of success, great community, great head coach. Coach Fabrizio was phenomenal to me and my family, and we played for it in 20. Coming off a year, we lost to Milton in the semifinals, which I know y'all are familiar with Milton around here.
Yeah, I know Milton.
So we lost to Milton last year in the semis, but we were the highest scoring offense in Georgia high school football history last year at Lee County. We averaged over 53 points a game.
No kidding.
Had some really, really good players, and had some kids that were really bought into working hard and loving each other and doing it the right way, and I think it showed.
Yeah.
But when this job became available in January, I'd never applied for a head football coaching job. Me and my wife, Shalia, were extremely happy in Lee County. It was a great community for us. she taught at the high school. She taught lit, and I was an econ teacher and in the weight room down there. And we were happy, but I knew that from seeing Roswell play Thomas County Central in the quarterfinals 2 years prior, that they played a brand of football that I really liked. And when it became available, I applied, and it seemed like Coach Shooter called me, and we had a conversation, and came up here and interviewed. And then 2 days later, I brought my wife up here to see it, and the rest was kind of history.
Yeah.
And it just felt special from the moment we were here. The kind of the aha moment was when they brought us back up for kind of basically to offer the job, and just for my wife to see it that weekend. After we sat and ate at downtown Lola's, which, by the way, that kind of
there
wanted
you go.
that wanted.
You can't go wrong with Lola's.
Yeah, right in the heart of it.
That helps.
That's it. That's it.
That's a
But
solid
we
point.
left, and we parked at a local church, and I'll find it, but it was right here around downtown, and we just sat and talked about what was going to be the best decision for us and our family. And the windows were down, and it was like peaceful, and I didn't feel like I was in Atlanta. And I think that was the only worry that we had coming up here is metro life. Like, is it going to be nonstop, fast paced? And we're used to a community that gets behind the kids and the school and the program, and that's what we wanted. And I can just remember sitting there, and we both looked at each other and like, this is it. We're in the right place. This is where we're supposed to be. And it's been nothing short but phenomenal since we got here in February.
Well, I'm going back to that stat you gave. If you've ever played football and have gotten beaten by a team 50 points to whatever, that is not fun. So kudos to y'all for putting that up on some teams. That's a bruising right there.
That is bruising.
And you're right. The community of Roswell's incredible. I think you'll find that it's it'll match Lee County. We've been through a lot of different situations. We don't talk about the pandemic anymore, but man, just the way that the community
came together,
supported the businesses. But we're one of the largest concentrations of nonprofits in the state of Georgia. I think the leader in nonprofits. So everybody's always helping everybody here, and you see that too. It's reflected. We were chatting beforehand. We were at the Be the Voice night at Roswell Junction, and a bunch of your boys were there.
Yeah.
And as nice, courteous, and respectful as could be. They were playing with our kids. It was fantastic. So that's reflected in the programs here too, because these kids, these athletes are coming up the right way.
Look up to them, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and you're sitting in the metro area. I can see where the fears would be, right? But this is the largest 100,000 people city that's really the smallest.
Yeah,
right?
I believe it.
Because everybody knows somebody, right? And everybody knows that it's all about getting better. Like, how do we get better? When the chips are down, this community rallies like no other community. And we're pretty biased. We're two of the biggest cheerleaders.
I'm right here with you.
But like we were talking about earlier, we live here. So it's our hometown. So we're go Hornets. Let's make sure the Hornets win. We want we want the Hornets to be successful because we take the pride, and this whole community rallies. We got great private schools. We know we got Centennial on the east side, but it's just that sense of community that you don't get everywhere, especially in a suburban area.
That's right.
And it's very much a melting pot of different denominations, ethnic backgrounds, but it works. And you see it here in Roswell, and there's just a sense of pride. You're coming behind some tradition that,
no doubt,
back to Coach Manus, right?
No doubt, great guy,
great guy,
phenomenal.
And these guys are still around,
no doubt,
which is amazing, right? When you think about
so cool,
you got people to lean in on,
no doubt.
That's a good lead in too, because we can talk about like aptitude and football IQ and all that good stuff, which obviously you possess, but. Let's talk about team culture. What are those types of things when you go back down to the foundation of what you're instilling in these young men? What does that look like when you address them for the first time and kind of lay your plan out?
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time we met. It was, I guess it was that Wednesday in the weight room, and I just started out with love. I'm a firm believer that love conquers all, and I say that because they've got to understand how much we are invested in them, right, as a coaching staff,
right,
so that they can, do the best that they can on a Friday night, and they're willing to play hard for us, right, and play hard for this community. And it all goes back to, too, like, we have a saying, forget about me, I love you, right? So, like, when we go out and play 48 minutes on a Friday night, you got to care so much about the guy next to you that you don't want to let him down. Not that you don't want to let yourself down, but it's the guy next to you. So, to me, that's where I've seen it go both ways throughout my course as a coach. I think I've been a part of teams and places where really talented, but we didn't have the connection, right? So I think the connection and loving each other, right, is kind of the biggest thing that we talked about from the beginning. And then understanding each and every day we've got to find one thing to get better at as a staff, as a program, as a player. So like we use correction cards every day after practice, and our coaches write correction cards, and the next day kids come in and they watch film, and when they go out to practice, they got to fix that one thing.
That's right.
So if we can fix that one thing and keep stacking days and just keep stacking, then eventually, right, we'll get it to where we need it to be.
I love that. Yeah.
So
we have a quote similar to that we tell our kids and our coaches too, and it's practice doesn't make perfect, because it's impossible to be perfect. Practice makes improvement.
Right.
Repetition makes improvement.
You see that happening.
Fix the one thing and be better than you were yesterday, right?
That's right.
That's awesome stuff. So, all right, let's talk too about, you're an offensive mind. Obviously, you've got that experience in Lee County, and you've dabbled in a number of different things. But that seems to be kind of your forte. But how do you approach now as a head coach your defensive mindset, your special teams mindset? How do you weave it all together?
Yeah, so fortunate enough, Roswell High School and Dr. Morrissey and Coach Suter and that administration, they let me bring some guys in with me on staff from out of different districts. So I was fortunate enough to bring my brother, Darius Brooks, and Coach Rusty Waters. They're doing the defense for us. Coach Waters is our defense coordinator.
Nice. Coach
Brooks, my brother's the co-DC, and he does the back end. So they blend it. One of them's kind of the box guy, and one of them's the back end guy. But they came in with me on day one in the weight room and helped me establish the foundation that I wanted to expect in the weight room and how we wanted to do it. And so I couldn't have been more blessed to bring those two that had been – Coach Waters coaching me at Lee for 2 years. He was a special teams coordinator and linebacker coach there. And Coach Brooks actually worked with me at Lee as well. So they kind of knew the model and knew who I was of how I wanted to do things.
Sure.
So that definitely helped defensively. We're going to be an odd stack team, and we're going to throw knives is kind of what we tell. We're going to throw as many knives as we can, and we're going to have to get 11 hats to the football and play with our hair on fire. And then special teams wise,
that's right.
And then special teams wise, Coach Bobat Calitarian was here on staff last year. He was special teams coordinator. Was fortunate enough to interview and meet him early on. And I knew immediately, he's a guy that we need to have. He's good for Roswell High School football and Roswell in general, right? Just a good guy that cares about the community and has a love and passion for special teams. So he's, we've blended. I've had some things that I believe wholeheartedly in defensively and special teams wise that those guys have been super supportive on, and they've ran with, I let them control their room, right? But we've had those conversations before. This is kind of what I want to look like, and those three have done a great job leading their particular elements of football.
So talk to me, Andy said, what's the special sauce? You said love, and I think that's if you don't have that, you don't have anything, right? You don't start there. What's the special sauce you're going to bring to Roswell this year? Always a lot of anticipation. No pressure. I'm not putting any pressure on.
That pressure's good. But I wouldn't be here if there wasn't.
But we think the special sauce for Roswell is community, right? Because communities, that's a big term you can use for your religious community, your neighborhood community, your school community, your work community. But all that comes together to make community. Tell us what the secret sauce is for Roswell Hornets football 2020.
I'm going to piggyback on the community part because that's one thing I didn't realize coming in here too was a lot of these kids have played together for a long time, right? Which is something that's unique to this area, right? And I think you get so many different schools up here that don't have the tradition that Roswell has, or they haven't played in as good of a feeder program as we have here. But these kids have played together, some of them 7, 8, 9 years. And there's something to that now. And like we said, love isn't built in a day. And a lot of these kids have had love for each other for a long time. And it also makes it easier if somebody does come in, whether they came as a sophomore or junior and they weren't a part of that feeder program, but the connection's so strong amongst the other ones that they really want guys to be a part of it with them as well. So I think that piece was already there, and the previous staff did a great job of continuing that and making that a part of it too. I just want to enhance it, right? And that's all we're trying to do is make everything elite in what we do, find that razor's edge. I think the pace that we've really gone at this thing at is probably if I had to say the special sauce or the uniqueness, like when I came in and I ran the weight room for the first 4 months, and the pace that we went in the weight room was a direct reflection of what practice should look like, and then practice is a direct reflection of what the game is. And I think we found a way, and I found a way through a lot of communication with guys I've known at college level or different of how to play fast. And I'm a firm believer of making 15, 16, 17-year-olds communicate and not the coaches on the sideline. So we're going to play at a pace offensively that I think is going to be unique to what they've done in the past. Now, we also can't be naive enough to know if we just gave up 3 touchdowns on defense, we might want to slow it up a little bit. Right?
Sure.
But we're going to do things at a different pace than I think has been done. And I think that's what's made us unique. Even when I was at Lee, I think our kids bought into the pace that we wanted to practice, the pace that we wanted to go in the weight room, and then the pace that we played at on Friday.
Yeah,
So,
it's you mentioned that word buy-in, and it's once you get that buy-in,
that's right.
Man, it's smooth
Special.
sailing. But getting that buy-in sometimes takes a lot of work. But I'm going to go back to something. I think you had mentioned this earlier, even off camera or before we started rolling, and it was really a cool thing that it was important to your entire family that you buy into Roswell.
Yep.
No doubt.
And you'd mentioned your wife. Your wife's a teacher. Obviously, she comes up here with you, and she's going to be looking for that teaching job as well. But it was important to you, not just Fulton County. Roswell specifically.
Yeah, specific.
You're going to submit
That rings
yourself
a bell
in
in
the
our book.
Oh, and that was the same thing when I took this job in 2019. Ryan, my wife, was like, well, then my business is relocating to Roswell. Our kids will go to school in Roswell. Our babysitters and our daycares will be in Roswell. The activities they do are going to be Roswell centric, right? And we find ourselves like, if we go to dinner in another town, like I feel like I'm cheating on Roswell.
No doubt.
We're
it's
like,
a
we
thing.
can't do that.
And every once in a while you got to, because you'll know this too, and I know in Lee County, like you're going to go out to dinner and everybody's going to come up your you can't
What's
escape
happening
it.
next week?
But that's a part of it, right?
We got it.
Yeah, I know you're already in it, but I just thought that was a really cool thing, and it really kind of speaks to who you guys are, the character as a family that you have for wanting to really buy in and solidify yourselves in Roswell, and not just the entire Fulton County area.
I don't think that it works if we don't do that, right? Yeah. Like my wife, Shalia Thompson, who's the best coach's wife and the best wife I could have ever dreamed of, right? She fully supports me in all that we do, and she knows that the hours are a lot. And the time and the love that I'm pouring into this program and those kids, it matters. Yeah. And we knew that if we were ever fortunate enough to be, if I was fortunate enough to be a head coach, we wanted to be at a place where we could all be in that place together. Yeah. And it was cool at Lee where she taught in 8th grade to start with. So she's an ELA teacher, but she was an 8th grade teacher for the first 3 years. And then she got the head cheerleading job and she came to the high school. But she got to see kids that she taught in 8th grade. And then I was coaching them as seniors, juniors, sophomores. And so we had that connection. And so when we came here, we didn't want to do it any way different. We wanted her and our family to be totally in this place. And not that it can't work, like if she works over in, Woodstock or wherever, like, can it work? I'm sure. But we know for us and what we want out of this, it's not just football at the end of the day. Yes, I'm going to compete, right? We're going to win a bunch of games, and we're going to do that. But at the end of the day, like, our message and our purpose is more than just that. And we want to be able to relate with parents and kids and impact the masses just like people did for us when we were in high school. Right. And we can't do that if we're at different places. So I wanted my four-year-old little girl to go to preschool over here. We wanted Shalia to teach in Roswell, so she's going to be teaching at Crabapple Middle School, 8th grade ELA, and so it couldn't have worked out any better. Yeah. And we knew that we had to do that for this to work.
Well, and you really hit on a nerve, and that is to make it work for your family, but to make it work for the community.
100%.
And so much of community for so many of us has been Friday night football, right? Because we see people we haven't seen in years, and it's a rallying point.
100%.
So your boys, and then you're producing out of that program, I say boys that will be men.
That's right.
Up and coming men, right?
That are going to impact our society.
That's right. They're going to be right here. They're going to be fathers. They're going to be husbands. They're going to be they're going to be deacons in our churches. They're going to be working in our jobs because we're going to be doing something else because we'll be retired. But you want that kind of, you need leaders like yourself every day. Like
it goes into, there's a difference in a coach that just wants to win a bunch of football games or baseball games or basketball games. And then there's the coach that recognizes that sport he or she is coaching is the channel to develop human beings.
It is.
That's right.
It is the platform.
And we were blessed with that.
Yeah.
And we got to use it to the best of our ability.
That's right.
The good thing is, and I know this about this place from my time here since February, the young men in this town are elite now. Yeah, and the way that they carry themselves, the way that they approach school, the way they approach life. There's a lot of really good parents that have raised a lot of really good young men that are a part of our program. And I know this, I could not have been more blessed for my head football coaching job, first one, to be with this group. I mean, they are special human beings. And I tried, Shalia's been fortunate enough to be around them some this summer, and, where they was giving out popsicles, and I just said, if I was fortunate enough to have a boy, this is what I'd want them to be.
Sure.
The senior class that we have right now, it's a special group.
So as a dad, as a dad of 3 girls, right? What you want is you want to raise those kind of guys that come ring your doorbell to take your daughter out, right?
Yep.
Still
That's
gonna be
what
scared
you
of
want.
that.
Yeah. You want to be able to stand on a box or do whatever you have to.
I'm
But
gonna blink and she ain't gonna be 4 anymore.
I promise you, that's
is
exactly
fast.
right. But that makes a difference, right?
does.
And it's the way they've brought up at home and the way they've responded at school.
That's right.
And coaches have a huge influence. I respect this guy right here next to me and to my left so much for what he volunteers and does
big deal.
with these boys, because they're 7, 8 years old, but they'll be 25 and
Before we
looking
know
to
it.
ring your daughter's doorbell, right?
right.
And it all makes a difference.
Yeah.
No
Well,
doubt.
I look at it too. It's our job, even in youth sports, to develop them for
Yeah,
him. I mean, by the time they get to him, they need to be saying, yes, sir, yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
sir, yep.
eye contact, hand. I mean, like that's
a
what the
reality.
ultimate goal is.
Yeah.
And that, it's, you make a neighborhood post on the Brookfield page, for example. Hey, I need somebody to help me lift some boxes or something like that. And inevitably, like, it's always some Roswell High School athlete that comes over with his buddies. And man, every single time, yes, sir, no, sir,
Yes.
got you. They don't take any money. I mean, they are there to assist and help, and it is charity, and it's awesome. So whatever is
Sense of
happening at
community.
Roswell High School,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's
it's working.
No
It's
doubt.
working.
No
Yep.
doubt.
Yep.
That's a testament. I mean, the school itself, like I've been amazed.
Yeah.
And again, you make that big of a change coming from 4 hours, 3.5 hours away. There's hesitancy of like, okay,
Sure.
what's going to be different? I couldn't have been more blessed. And I'm so excited to my daughter to be in this school, in this community, and my wife to be teaching here. Like, we couldn't be more blessed to be here.
Right.
I do know that.
Well, you're in a great. How many days?
It's funny. I had Jamie Roberts, who's always around and helping us and does a great job. He used to be the president of the Booster Club.
Oh, yeah.
He was standing behind us, he came and saw me after. He said, "You said 24 days," and I just was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's here. When you get back, we have what we call Dead Week. GHSA does, and July 4th week, we're not allowed to do anything. And when you get back, it's football season.
Yeah.
Because
It is football
it's here.
season. Yeah. You can feel it.
That's right. And we had our youth camp last week, which was phenomenal. And then we got our OTA versus Buford, where we'll go over to Buford and go against some different teams with pads on. And then next week is acclimation week, where you got to wear helmets and you got to have 5 consecutive days. And then the following week's full pads.
Yeah.
It's here.
It's
and believe it
here.
or not, it won't be long, and everybody be watching on Friday, and then it'll be Saturday, and then it'll be Sunday.
It dominates at that
It's
point.
coming.
Yeah.
It's
It's
coming.
happening.
So,
Well, Coach,
Love
thanks
it.
for coming on.
yes.
Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Welcome to
Absolutely.
Roswell. It's a pleasure to meet you. We're going to haul you to Rotary, so get ready.
Yeah.
Love it. I
Roswell
can't wait to
Rotary
go.
we need good people like you in our Rotary
I'd
Club.
love to do it.
Yep.
So thank you for all you're doing. At any point we can help you, we're here to help. So as we always say at Roswell, pick your cup up. It's a great day to do business, but more importantly, it's a great day to be a Hornet and play some football.
That's right. Go Hornets.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.